Real questions, real answers for real life. Come on in and pull up a chair. You're at 1850 Main Street with Michael DelGiorno and David Zanotti.
Republicans held their first presidential debate on Wednesday night. Most people weren't watching, and the two guys who were barely survived the experience.
It's amazing to me how quickly last night your text went from Little League, Southeast defeat, right into the debate. So we were...
Yeah, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to be able to talk out loud with you about the texts that we're going through as we go through these debates, because you and I have now sat through a lot of debates, and I can't stand them. They make me crazy. About the only way I can survive having to watch a debate, and we have to, you and I are in the broadcast industry, we have to do this.
Yeah.
I can only do it when I'm texting you back and forth. Now, fortunately, my son chimed in as well, which made it even easier because I was getting his input at the same time.
Well, I got my wife's, I got Nick's.
That's right.
I could share a lot of focus group info in addition to our texting back and forth. But, you know, the first thing you kind of bring up, so if we didn't do this for a living, would you have watched?
It's almost, I've been doing this so long, I can't even imagine.
I wouldn't have watched the same way.
Yeah, I wouldn't have watched as long, I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have been really tempted to shut this thing off as soon as the Fox people showed up, because the prejudice in the entire process was so ridiculous. I mean, I coined a new term, I think, when I got started. I think I said, is this Republican polyorgy? And it felt to me like a political orgy of Fox News. Like they came with all their gush to want to just get out there. And I mean, can you believe that they started early in the debate with the song Rich Men North of Richmond? I mean, this song has been around for like 2 weeks, right? And all of a sudden now it merits presidential attention.
I thought the first 5 minutes, which was designed to set the tone, proved everything when we were discussing in preview what we expected. Fox to make it about themselves, Fox to try to do the gotcha questions, Fox to try to set the narrative tone and make it about them. My first text to you was 1 minute in. I said, Fox is already the big loser, because they started with this video to try to set the narrative. Then they played the song video. It was about 3 minutes. You're there for a presidential debate, and it was 3 minutes before they ever talked to anybody on the stage. That's how much Fox made it about themselves.
Your next comment to me is DeSantis looks like Joe Namath.
He did at first, but I will say this. For DeSantis and Romney, you're going to disagree with me on Romney. I think both of them found a much better, different pace and tone and control second half versus first half of the debate.
Okay, so I'll ask you one that'll make you mad. Tell me that Chris Christie didn't seem more presidential than Ramaswamy.
Well, actually, you know what's, because the crowd was loud, what got buried was Ramaswamy's comeback, which was
give me a
hug. You know me,
That was quick.
There is nothing of substance and ideology that would get me excited about Governor Christie. But this is what he does well, debates, and he strategically was in an awkward position because he's there to beat up Trump. He's there to play to the Never Trump crowd, which I think is a small group, and Trump wasn't there to beat up. So he turned to Ramaswamy, which I think was kind of a general tone throughout the night, which gave DeSantis a really big free pass. Nobody really sees DeSantis for what he is, which is the clear number 2 guy.
Thinking about this overnight, you had 8 candidates on. You only had one rookie. One person with no experience in serving in public life at all, running for the presidency. Now, if you're not Donald Trump, that's a pretty big task to order. We got to remember that Donald Trump is the first person to ever succeed in that lane in the history of the republic.
If I played you a video of Donald Trump's first debate and Ramaswamy's first debate, you would clearly say Ramaswamy did better, even though Trump had the name and clearly owned this. I'm not a politician.
I disagree completely.
Oh, no. Ramaswamy had some really good moments.
Yeah. I thought he just looked like a jerk the whole time. I mean, he just looked like an impish jerk who was out to start little fires, like a cartoon character, set people's feet on fire. And, you know, he had all of his preset lines, though they were really smart.
Oh, yeah.
And they were well delivered. Like my favorite was a super PAC sock puppets.
Yeah.
Super PACs. But here's the thing. If he had said what he said to those people in the time period of Washington, Adams, and Jefferson, he would have had 7 people waiting for him at sunrise to do a duel. They would have literally blown him up, because you can't be that rude, abrasive, and character. When you say to 7 other people, "You're all bought and paid, and I'm not paid for, and I'm not," boy, you know what? That is no small indictment. Now, calling them super PAC puppets was I think humorous in a way, but it was preceded by, "You're all bought and paid for. I'm the only one that's not bought and paid for." That is, to me, was the height of arrogance. I'm not saying I'm for any of those 8 people, but let's look at this, Michael. You had 7.
There's only one person that consistently, in my mind, did well. I don't think it's going to move a needle. I don't think he can get the nomination. But the one of substance that I think, because we got to look at people with high expectations and no expectations. Nobody knows who North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is. And he, from start to finish, though he looks as though Eugene Levy and Jack Palance had a child, he was of substance the most consistent, highest performer. We would all probably agree he was the winner of the debate. He looked like the big boy at the kids' table in a food fight, to me.
You had 7 people other than Ramaswamy on the stage. 6 of them were governors. 1 of them was a United States senator. And the newbie rookie kid is running around trying to set everybody's feet on fire, and basically to morally indict them all as somehow the enemy. That to me is pretty classless. Now, he could have used all of his intellect and all of that great delivery and his gifts, which are very strong, to have continued to challenge on all kinds of policy perspectives and accomplish the very same thing. But he chose to make it personal.
Yeah, and that could be first debate mistake. But I will say this, if strategically, and this is more discernment speaking, if my discernment is correct and he's playing to be the vice presidential candidate, he certainly moved the needle forward, probably with Donald Trump in that sense. Other than that, he's had some polling gains. And I think all these also-rans in the 2 to 3% are trying to figure out how to get his momentum to get in a distant third instead of a grouping of a distant 7th, 8th. So I thought it was a very interesting strategy that they didn't keep their eye on Biden. Nobody had the guts to go after Trump, because other than Christie, you could see it was a losing proposition in the room and probably at home. But I thought it was interesting they went after Ramaswamy instead of DeSantis. And that's a big victory for DeSantis, who needed that time to find his tone by the second half.
Well, we could go through the bingo card, which to me is just hilarious. It's so predictable on who's going to say which. And this is, we're finding some sanity here. There is some sane deliverance. I think only 2 of the people on the stage thanked the moderators for asking them the question.
Oh.
Right after
Pence, I thought, was going to write a thank you card just for everything.
I'm convinced that you can fall asleep.
Yeah.
In Mike Pence's pauses.
Oh, you got it. Well, again, I always wonder why we both exist on this earth. We're thinking the same thing, saying the same thing. No wonder we love each other. I will say this. I want to actually, I'll ask this. Do you agree with me that, and I'm making assumptions because I'm not in any of these people's heads, but it sure felt like Ramaswamy was playing to the Trump card, and that could be smart because they were watching. They were in the room. Christie was playing to the never Trump card. I think Ramaswamy's card was a smarter card to play for.
See, I think Ramaswamy is playing strictly for the youth lane. I'm the youth. I'm the candidate.
Well, he
of the
did do
future.
that too.
I'm
He
the
did
youth
do that.
lane, the youth lane, because older people and older consultants are terrified of losing that market demographic. So he played that, and he played it very, very well. You're the guy who endlessly speaks about lanes, though. And a number of people have already commented and were commenting throughout the whole process. And this is just weird. Okay. This is something's not right. If I was looking from the outside in and had no background whatsoever, the first question I would have to ask is, why are all these men dressed exactly the same?
I texted you that.
Yeah.
They were wearing the exact same color. If Nikki Haley had come out in a navy blue suit with a red tie and a white shirt, I would have really freaked out. They were all wearing the exact same thing. That has to be noticed.
That's weird.
It was very weird.
Just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, who is giving these people advice? Because obviously these are not rookies. I mean, other than Ramaswamy, these are not rookies.
Pure coincidence? Maybe.
I don't know, man. What the heck is up with that?
It was bizarre. I don't think it was a good night for the Republicans. They have a much deeper bench, but it didn't seem it. They didn't stay focused on us at home and what we're going through as well as they could have, and prosecuting Biden as well as they could have. I think there was just a lot, were they going after Trump? Did they have the guts to go after Trump? The answer was no. They started all going after Ramaswamy. It just, I don't know. My wife looked at me at one point and said, oh my gosh, I don't think I can vote for any of these people. And I found myself gravitating towards the North Dakota governor. So that's not a very good night, because Ramaswamy and DeSantis should be wooing me.
Truth, though, have you ever seen him? Had you ever seen him physically before last night?
Never in my life.
Okay. So you immediately went to Eugene Levy, as did
the eyebrows.
As did 2/3 of the nation.
Well, and Asa Hutchinson became comb over. Thanks to Nick. Oh. Nick just said, "Who's the guy with the comb over?" Well, that's pretty much it. It was funny, from a 16-and-a-half-year-old / could be a third party radio co-host someday for us. Nick wasn't really impressed with DeSantis, so he didn't reach Nick. I thought, I'm just being logical. There's DeSantis, the life. This guy's life matters. He lived it well. He's got a great resume.
He got that out pretty good last night.
He did. He finally got that out. I thought good. I think he found his tone in the second half. I could vote for that guy in the second half of the debate. He needs to be that way in the next debate all the way through. He's still on the playing field for me. Ramaswamy did not turn me off as much as he turned you off. Was he overenthusiastic at first? Did he get a little abrasive? But this is a guy that's here to disrupt and set the narrative. I thought he did that. He's the only one that had the guts to discuss the administrative state. I think foreign policy is where Ramaswamy ended it for me.
Nikki Haley ate him alive.
Yeah, Nikki Haley had some really strong moments,
really
and then
did.
she went too far and alienated men with the Margaret Thatcher comments. So hopefully she can learn from that. I wasn't that impressed with any of them.
I would have been more impressed if she had actually mentioned Margaret Thatcher. She just went into that tone, but I don't think she said her name out loud.
Even when this one or that one or this one or that one had a moment, I kept coming back to the same thing. Fox is a big loser. Trump's the evening winner. And ultimately, I wasn't sensing anybody making George Soros or John Podesta very nervous. That was just kind of my feeling throughout. And then we could kind of go through one at a time. But
who was it that had the courage? It was DeSantis had the courage to call out Soros by name.
That's usually our job.
Yeah, and so we got 50% of the team online. No one had the courage to mention John Podesta in the same sentence. But at least, and I thought that was a very strong point for DeSantis, because he talked about Soros bringing in the prosecutors, and that in Florida he fired 2 of those Soros prosecutors. I mean, you had class moments in your texting like Pence needs a fly.
He needed it bad.
If you don't know what that means, we'll leave it right where it was. I had bingo Pence on thanks for the question.
Well, all right, let me do something for. There's 2 things I want to do about the vice president. Can I share the 2 biggest moments last night that everyone seemed to miss?
Okay.
When you subscribe to 1850 Main Street, you're the first to find out what's happening next with new guests, publications, and events. And when you spread the word about 1850 Main Street, you're helping others find real answers to the real questions facing America right now. To learn more, visit 1850mainstreet.com. And please, tell a friend.
Here's the 2 biggest moments I think everybody missed. And it'll be my little fair play to Pence. Because I do think on the abortion question, Pence won big. He won very big on the abortion question. And that should be a very big issue among all conservatives especially evangelicals within the
Well, it's sure a big issue for the left. So, yeah.
right. But two things it missed. The former vice president came right out after everybody had their chance to either stand by him. Did he do the right thing? Did he do the right thing on January 6th? And then when it was his turn, he laid out in no uncertain terms, crystal clear, that the president of the United States asked him to break the law and he didn't do it. You would have thought that was never said. Fox never did it. Well, they went back into the spin room with Sean. Nobody touched that. And you did. You texted it to me and I caught it. How is that not the top story today?
Well,
that as Fox is showing you, you're looking live at Fulton County Jail, where former President Donald Trump will be. And then the sitting vice president during Donald Trump's presidency tells America the president asked him to break the law. And that doesn't become a news story?
And of course, Trump denied that claim altogether. He said he said that was a ridiculous charge. He would never do that. So the question is, somebody's lying. Now, did Pence rise to the occasion and then overshoot the field by figuring
I don't
he
know.
had to elevate the rhetoric
Right.
into some kind of vapor sort of position that he understood what the Constitution? Look, this whole thing about Pence's responsibilities, this is a very simple one. The vice president's got a role. It's explained in both the Constitution and in statute. He's there to chair the session of Congress and where the electoral ballots are opened and counted. It's just that simple. He chairs the event. And in the event that members rise from the floor to object to the legitimacy of any state's electors, then there has to be a second, and the vice president has to assign a committee to review that. And within a period, I think the law states it can't be more than 3 days, they have to come back with a decision on whether or not that claim is valid. Now, none of that happened because the process by which it could have happened was disrupted by the people who quite foolishly decided they were going to enter the Capitol and create all of that. So the process never happened. Pence was doing his job. It's not a great big constitutional burden to do your job.
No.
And listen,
and nor is it a big constitutional reward that you did do your job.
Exactly. You did your job. And so basically DeSantis says, yes, I got no beef with Mike. He did his job. I mean, this wasn't like, laying your life down in a bomber in World War II.
No. But here's what I found intriguing. Everybody knows that Christie was playing to the Never Trump crowd, that Christie was playing against Trump. Give Bob's big boy credit. He went on that stage and a crowd that didn't want to hear it and a party that doesn't want to hear it. And he went after Trump. I think Governor and Vice President Pence, I'm trying to get all his respectful titles in there. I think he was just as anti-Trump as Christie, but got away with it more than Christie, because I think that's maybe what we're discussing right now.
Well, look, I wish Christie was real. I really do, because he is a fantastic communicator in the realm of empathy. He makes you listen to him. He sounds so sincere. I wish he was real. I mean, if he would, I really do. I do too. I just wish he had a track record that backed up his rhetoric and that he had a worldview and a philosophy that truly was consistent. I wish you could trust the guy.
Remember what he used to say about Cruz? The idea of Ted Cruz was always much better than the actual Ted Cruz. But you could say the same thing for Governor Christie.
And what's fascinating is Cruz is philosophically correct and acts correct and then speaks with such superiority and awkwardness that you can't relate to him. Christie has got the exact opposite. He's got if you could put those two candidates together, you'd have a fantastic president.
Smartest move of the night, Trump not being there. Second smartest move of the night, Kristi Noem not being there, but running commercials.
and those commercials were amazing. She's got a great commercial. And it was a I don't know. That was anything other than genius. I don't know what it means, but it was definitely genius. Now,
loser of the night, clearly Fox, starting with that song and the video and 3.5-4 minutes of narrative setting. And it's all about them before they ever get to the first question. Then, and I noticed this more in the first round than later, but in the first round, when everybody was paying attention, everybody got a chance to answer a question, which, by the way, the Lemonade from Lemons Award goes to Governor Christie. He gets UFOs, and I mean stuck the dismount. I mean, that was impressive. I mean, I thought he was just going to gripe and say whatever. He didn't. He made lemons into lemonade with that. That was very impressive. But that was typical Fox all night. Did you notice in the first round of questions, no matter what somebody said, Fox came back with a gotcha with them? Now, it backfired on DeSantis because they brought up the crime, and he was like, crime is down. You know,
they had it wrong. He definitely caught Brett Baier dead wrong on the facts.
You're looking live at Fulton County. I mean, look, they are the poster child of death of journalism. And I think their promo said it all. Yeah. All the ego, all the poop stirring, and then ending with this lineup of lightweights. The greatness of Fox is all gone. It's all in the past. O'Reilly's gone. Tucker's gone. Megyn Kelly's gone. Sean's the only one left. And then you end with Gottfield saying, we're this close to entertainment. You're supposed to be this close to the news and truth. Fox, clearly loser of the night. Trump, clearly winner of the night. And he should resist the urge to show up at the second one. Every time these 8 get together to talk, it's just going to make him the only choice. But my biggest concern is I think ultimately the big winner is going to be Podesta and Soros, because their plan is going just to order.
Well, and I think in regards to this, there's an outside shot that Trump actually was the biggest loser. And I'll tell you why. People are conditioned into the processes of this system. Voting starts in about 4 months in primary states. And it is possible that if the Republican Party and the Republican candidates keep going in this mechanism and Trump stays on the outside looking in, that this process will diminish his vote, because Trump has the people that are a lot of people who back Donald Trump care immensely about this country. Now, I could say every one of them. That wouldn't be fair, because no group is perfect. But a lot of those people care very, very deeply for this country. And they care so much about it that they're watching these debates as well. This process could erode that Trump support to the place where he's not in the picture, because other people have, in essence, stolen their affections, have captured their minds, have made them think differently. So there is a downside exposure for Donald Trump. If this goes on 3, 4, 5, 6 more times, it could be that he's out of sight and he might be out of mind. Remember, he's only got a 35% base, which means 65% of the party doesn't want him.
There's another aspect to that narrative, and it already started. That is that Nikki Haley really sold it well after the debate. Donald Trump's going to be too busy in court to campaign, and there's too much at stake right now. If it looks like he's battling cases and can't be at debates, somebody sniffs that odor, then I agree with you. It could hurt him. In the meantime, I don't think it hurt him last night. Let me do a quick lightning round. Did anybody move the needle?
No, you can't do that. That's what they do. A quick lightning round. Did you see how much that got blown up?
Yeah. I'm making fun of it. All right. But so bottom line is, do you think anybody moved the needle away from Trump?
Oh, I think the whole process moved the needle away from Trump, because it shows that there's life other than Trump, because a number of those people have impressive credentials, they're qualified careers, and they can talk. So you can't beat something with nothing. And he wasn't there.
So Trump's in the 50s. DeSantis is in the 20s and falling. Ramaswamy's in the 3s and rising. Everybody else is a non-player. Did anybody move the needle for themselves? And do you anticipate any bump for somebody? And if so, whom?
Well, I think that Nikki Haley did very well for herself. Now, she's playing a lane, but it's a lane that is an incredible vulnerability in the Republican community, and that's women, and particularly suburban women. So she played that lane very well, which moves her up the needle. I think that Tim Scott actually moved himself up in the needle as far as being able to stand with grace and dignity in the midst of people having a poop storm all around him. He didn't pick up any and throw it. I mean, he stayed the course on regards to character. That was a strong showing on his part. I want to hear more from the governor of North Dakota. I think the guy's intriguing. I really do. I want to hear more of this. I think Asa Hutchinson blew himself right out of the just gone, see you bye. And crazy enough, I think that Christie's in Kasich's lane from years gone by. And as long as he's got money behind him, there's no reason for Christie to move out. I think this process actually moved the process farther than I would have anticipated. I thought it would have shown a huge hole. Now, I do agree with you that the most gargantuan loser in the whole process is Fox. You cannot bring your evening news host in as a debate moderator. You cannot do it. And his partner, Martha, blew herself to smithereens.
And abortion.
When she came out with a pejorative that is so far removed from reality on the ground in the Republican world and in the voting world that abortion is a losing issue for Republicans. And then she tried to backfill that. That is such a premature, illegitimate, out of touch with reality comment that, she's blown her credibility completely.
Well, and Nikki took the bait. And if it was designed to make Nikki win that question, it blew up in their face because really Pence and Governor Burgum actually won the conversation on abortion. But
all the candidates are saying the same thing, by the way, on abortion. They're all saying the same thing. The only exception, and this is where people would have missed this, is Pence and somebody else, I can't remember off the top of my head, are definitely playing for the endorsement of the Susan B. Anthony Foundation, which has made it crystal clear that they will not back any candidates in the federal elections in 2024 that do not call for a federal ban at some level on abortion. In fact, they're getting more specific on the details of that. So Susan B. Anthony is trying to bully the Republican Party into taking a federal position right now, which is very premature in the debate. And that showed up because there's so many questions yet as to how this is going to be rightly adjudicated that dragging the federal government in as an instant response, it doesn't logically flow with the 50 years of Roe versus Wade or the court's decision. But Susan B. Anthony wants to jump ahead of everything and force people to do it. And they're very, very, very aggressive. So a couple of people played to them.
I don't know that I agree. It's not that I don't agree with you. I don't know that I sensed it as clear as you did, that they're all saying the same thing or they're all on the same page. And an issue this important to conservative, evangelical, even establishment Republicans at a time where this is going to be the top issue by the time the general rolls around. Did you really see everybody on the same page? Because I didn't.
Well, I think they end up in the same spot. I don't think there's anybody there defending an abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy position. The very fact that they stated that out loud succinctly tells me that they're definitely reading in on this issue seriously. Now, Haley's trying to finesse it, which is early for that, and Pence is trying to drive it into the Susan B. Anthony lane. But I think the greatest irony was a story that just came out that Jen Psaki was on Twitter saying she said literally no one is in favor of supports abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. Well, I got to tell you something. We've got proposals around the country in the states right now that do exactly that and are being backed by the Democrat Soros Podesta regime. So I don't know where Jen's getting her information, but she should circle back on that one because the facts are completely out of order. But at least last night, they seem to be all going in the same direction. Let's put it that way. I didn't see anybody taking a detour.
The conversations are just getting started. To get connected, check out 1850mainstreet.com. We don't data mine anyone or sell your information. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single conversation. We'll see you next time here at 1850 Main Street.